Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, good evening to everyone. It's a good little crowd here, some familiar faces and unfamiliar faces. Hadn't seen in a while. So Happy New Year to everyone. We're starting the new year over with things on the agenda. I kind of thought it would be a short agenda, but I imagine we'll have some discussion here. But without further ado, let me get going. Approval of the minutes. Everyone's had a chance to look at the minutes. Any additions, takeaways? Then they stand approved as is. Report of town manager. Our town manager is sick, I believe. I would think he probably has the flu. Was not feeling good yesterday. Sent me an email this morning that it did not look good. He would not be at work today and did not look good for tonight. So we will catch up with him at the next meeting. Appearances before council. I have a few here. First one is Leslie Mahaffey. Would you like to come up and state your name and address and tell us what's on your mind?
Leslie Mahaffey, 1517 Woodland Road here in town. I have two things that I want to discuss tonight. My husband and I went through Liberty Lake Park to see the Christmas lights. And one thing that I was kind of taken back with is that Bay's removal trash cans were throughout the park. I thought, oh my goodness, this is strange. This is town-owned property, and why are we having Bay's pick up our trash when we have our own department that handles that? And it made me think, what other properties in town that the town owns do we have Bay's picking up trash at? And then the town, in turn, pays for those services. How much is the town paying Bay's to pick up our property for a department that you have on your payroll? It just doesn't make sense in my brain. So I wanted to ask about that.
Leslie, we do not have an answer, or I don't. I'm not sure I was aware of that, but we will check into that and get you an answer.
Okay, and I understand that the cemeteries are the same way, that there are Bay's trash receptacles at those locations. Again, that just doesn't make sense to me. And the second thing that I want to inquire about, the closed session. I know you cannot discuss anything, but it does state in the agenda that I looked up this afternoon, shared on Facebook, and once I did that, man oh man, it lighted up some fire with some citizens here. As we know what happens when items are put out there on Facebook. I just put the agenda out there, and then I started getting phone calls, then I started getting messages, and I'm like, my goodness, I'm not even on town council. Why is everybody asking me questions? But anyway, I'm sure that this is just my observation and my thoughts, and this has to do with property at the reservoir. And this was addressed, I believe, 2 years ago. So I just feel like that this closed session, possibly dealing with the reservoir, is starting off 2026 with a bad step for council. And when you're at liberty to discuss it, I hope that whatever decision is made, that it is brought before the citizens for a public hearing if this is going to be sold, and give the citizens an opportunity to speak to it, to put it out for bid if that's a process that is involved. It just needs to be open and involved to the community, and not some kind of deal going on behind closed doors. Not to say that that is happening with this council, but it gives the impression that there's something that you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back type thing. So anyway, I just wanted to voice that opinion.
And Leslie, we certainly thank you. And I'm not a big proponent of closed sessions, but there are times when we have to go through them and have them for legality reasons.
Right,
and
understand.
whenever we decide, yes, it will be made public.
Okay, very good.
At the right point, at the right
And I serve on a board, and I know that there are closed sessions that we go into primarily dealing with personnel, but there are times that it is necessary, and I do understand that.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for your time. Have a nice
Thank you for your
evening.
concern. Thank you. All right, Mr. Melvin Adams, he's gonna come up and give your blessings.
All right, well, thank you, and thank you all for your service as we start out a new year. We're all hoping and praying for a wonderful year and a good year. That's what I will be asking God to bless us with here for our community and for you as you do your work. First, I'd like to start off with two scripture passages, very brief. These are more, not so much pastoral, but I believe instructive. We can get all of that from the scripture. So the first one I share is from Proverbs 21 and verse 5. It says this, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty." Okay? The second one is a little bit like it, but it shifts the focus. And I'm going to give it two ways, the way it's given in the passage, and then I'm going to change a couple words to make it applicable. It's written to an agrarian society, again, Proverbs 27, verses 23 and 24. "Know well the condition of your flocks, and give attention to your herds, for riches do not last forever." So let's put that into context here. Know well the condition of your citizens, and give attention to your community, for riches do not last forever. Okay? Let's pray. Father in heaven, we thank you for this new year, and I thank you, Lord, for this body that sits here this evening to make decisions and to plan and serve for the good of our community, for Bedford, the town. And Lord, in all sincerity, Lord, I pray for your blessing on them as a body and on them individually. Lord, that you would give them wisdom and discernment as they work together and as they serve this community. Lord, help them to make decisions that will be in every citizen's good, and Lord, that will cause us as a community to prosper and flourish and experience your blessing. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Mr. Adams, we certainly appreciate you taking the time to come and pray for us, and you're spot on. Material possessions do not store up treasures in heaven. Thank you.
By the way, I think I was supposed to tell where I live. It's 938 Ashland Avenue, Bedford. It's across from the Elks home.
Thank you. The last one here says forest property conservation easement is, come on up. Name, address.
My name is Dave Good. I live on Wycliffe Street. A friend of mine texted me this afternoon and asked me to show up here. He's worried about the land around the reservoir also.
Okay.
So the only thing I would say is there any thought to conservation easement? Utilizing this land, put it into a conservation easement, whether sell it or not. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. And I believe that is it for the council comment or appearances before council. Now, council comments. Dave, what you got?
short on speech here. No, it's been a while since we met. Just hope everybody had a great Christmas, and obviously with the turn into 2026 that we have a blessed new year. I appreciate the prayers for wisdom and discernment, because we definitely will need that this coming year and the years to come. But I appreciate everybody coming out and being here. It's really good to, when we say the pledge, to hear a lot of voices instead of just a few. So thanks for coming out, and look forward to what 2026 holds.
Yeah, all right. I'd like to welcome everybody here, and also people that watch us on TV by YouTube. Still get a lot of comments about, we saw you on TV last night. And again, we listen to everybody that, that comes and talks to us, and we take it into consideration. I know I do. And also thank you, Pastor, for your prayer there. And I noticed the other day I rode by Burks Hill up there and noticed the motel. They had hung a lot of steel, and today they had like the interior walls starting to work up on it. And I'm like, man, that thing sit for a while there, and it's starting to look pretty good up there.
Taking shape.
Yes, sir. Anyway, that's all I got to say.
Councilman Evans had some pretty good comments there. I've driven by Brooks Hill several times there, and just, like I said, for a long time it didn't look like anything was being done. And all of a sudden, it's just like weeds just sprouting up everywhere, But I want to wish everyone a happy New Year, and thank y'all for being here. And Mr. Adams, I think your scripture choices were certainly appropriate for this body. Thank you very much for bringing that.
Just want to wish everybody, hope everybody have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank everybody for being here. Also, I'd just like to mention, over the holidays, we did lose a former councilman, Guy Murray, that passed away right before Christmas. So just remember, he sat on council for several years, so just want to mention that to the public. So.
Yep, thank everyone for being here. One, I wanted to thank those that volunteered at Spring Oak or the Elks Home. There was a lot of people that worked a lot on those materials there and fixed a lot, so it's improving, and it's a continuing process. So I want to thank those involved in that. And then I also wanted to mention the loss of a town employee that we had in the past. What I heard was Ralph Seitz had passed away. He was a police officer for us for many years. I worked with him, and I heard that he had passed away in Florida recently. So, and that's all I have, sir.
Okay.
I hope everybody had a good Christmas and a Happy New Year. It's good to see all y'all out here tonight. Leslie, I want to thank you for what your input we had tonight. Mr. Adams, thank you for your prayer. It was spot on. Mr. Conservation, thank you for yours. Again, with Spring Oaks, we want to appreciate everything that they did on repainting the decorations to get those up and everything. Thanks to Bedford Baptist, they did a live activity out there, which was very nice. And hoping that this year is going to be a lot better than last year for all of us.
Well, okay, I guess it's my turn. I'm trying to weigh, okay, I hope this year's better than last year. Okay. I thought last year was okay, but it can always be improved, right? I don't have a lot. It got me thinking about the people that passed away. As you get older, you think more about that. But I served with G.E. Murray for a couple of years there on council. Knew him well. Of course, he was very active in the community for years at Marion Bowling. But I think he was, in his 80s, I believe, or so. But anyway, I had, not that anyone knew it, but I kept in touch with a friend of mine. I met in the Air Force through the years, and he lived in Oregon, and he passed away in December. That it kind of makes you think that none of us are guaranteed the next day. I do have one thing that I touched base with Bart on that I want to pass on to you all. The employee lunch, December the 17th, that was held right here. We presented Bart with a 25-year certificate and plaque of good and faithful service. And he sent me a card that I'm going to read, then I'll pass around to council for you to look at. But I thought it would be appropriate to mention what all Bart had done while here. He's not been the town manager for 25 years, but I want to give a quick rundown of what all he's done and the positions he has held. Bart Warner was hired, excuse me, April 24th, 2000, as Bedford City Director of Planning and Community Development. Imagine that. Then on May the 13th of 2002, he worked as interim Director of Parks, Recreation, and Cemeteries, while working still as the Director of Planning and Community Development. Then on October the 10th of 2005, his title was changed to Assistant City Manager. April 27th, 2017, promoted to Interim Town Manager. September the 1st, 2017, Bart became the official town manager and has served in that capacity ever since. So as you can see, Bart has worn a number of different hats, is familiar with a number of different departments, and has served them well. But we're fortunate, I feel, to have Bart still here. And as I had a few other things I said, and he has definitely survived all the councils that he served under. So that's an achievement. I did want to read the card he sent. It's a big thank you to CG and members of council. Thank you very much for the lovely plaque commemorating my 25 years of service with the town. As I hope you know, I genuinely love this community, and I am grateful for the opportunity to serve in any way. It truly takes a team effort, which involves the vision and leadership of council. I feel blessed to be part of this organization, and I feel that Bedford has many bright days ahead. With gratitude, Bart Warner. And I'll pass that around for you to look at. Also, I do want to recognize one other employee. Garth Mork has been with the Bedford Electric Department for 30 years. I mean, and that's quite an achievement. And I told Garth then, I appreciate him sticking around. So, but let him know, we all appreciate that. All right, what is next on the agenda? The appointment of the, let's see. No revisions to the agenda. No public hearings, no consent agenda, no old business, new business. There you go. Appointment of a fire chief. I think that's pretty routine this time of the year. The department has already elected Stacy Wills as the new fire chief, so we just need to verify it.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. Councilman Haley and Vice Mayor Updike, and roll call.
Mr. Evans?
Aye.
Mr. Foreman?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Ippolito?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mayor Stanley?
Aye.
Motion carries with all members voting aye.
Can I say something, Mr. Mayor?
Sure.
Mr. Wills? You know, Stacy Wills started out as a brickie and a probate on the fire department. So, you know, Stacy has rose in the ranks of the year working for Roanoke City or whatever. And I think the last 2 years of him being fire chief at the Bedford Fire Department, I think he has elevated that fire department to a different level. So, congratulations to Chief Wills. So.
Thank you. All right, next is presentation and discussion of downtown action strategy. Ms. Zirkle, it is on you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I don't have a new presentation. This is something we've been talking about for a few months here, and I believe you saw it last in September. Some follow-up conversations were had at your retreat in October, so we're working from that time frame as well. So what you have before you is the table showing the implementation tasks that were included in the plan that you had. I've repackaged these once more, so it shows a timeline of what is recommended to be done now. And keep in mind, again, this is a 5-year action strategy, not the comprehensive plan that you're working on currently and are will soon be having public meeting about coming up in February or March. So that is a 20-year horizon for that plan. So your 5-year action strategy is intended to be intentional and actionable at this time. So the table you have before you sorts those out into a timeline of now, then years 1 through 3, then 3 through 5. And then there's the level of investment was the second sorting of this table so that you can see what has, basically it's just a strategy. It doesn't cost anything. And then we have tactical low-cost strategies on up to the $3 sign strategies that may require funding outside of typical budget parameters. Those with $2 signs may have funding for resources that are typically within your budget parameter, which is public may be aware of. You are now underway for drafting budget as department heads are finalizing their package for that budget to be heard. So the last column is the implementation partners, and this is what the consultant put out from their understanding of who are responsible parties among the town. I've highlighted those that are the town as an entity. You can see some of the other partners that they recommend. And then a column for the status of each of those strategies that we have. So one project is a sub of another, and so string lights have been added under the market pavilion. And that is something that was not for Christmas, that is for year-round lighting of that, so that it shows there's some life happening in that particular facility. We've had recommendations to light up other areas around town, including Centertown Plaza, lights down the Main and Bridge Street, primarily Bridge Street is the main corridor coming in from Route 43. So we hope to be moving on with those because those were basically low-hanging fruit that had some visual effect that was positive for people to see things happening. 2 others have been are underway with that we can talk about at your leisure. But what I really wanted to present to you was this same information you'd seen, is what you can do and your roadmap for when you can do it, what it would cost, and who would be responsible. So you may have a conversation about your priorities for moving forward.
Of course, Mary, this is pretty much what the downtown strategy presented.
Same
thing,
information.
right? And this is the packet that they suggested after coming here and observing and talking to business owners and so forth.
And for some context too beyond that, as we went through this table, we realized we're already doing a lot of this. It's a matter of communicating what we're doing better to those who could take advantage of the incentives or the other things that the town is already doing. So a lot of this will have to do with just improved communication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot there, and of course, I'm sure some of it probably will fall through the cracks and won't be done, but there's a lot of good things here that I think the whole point here is to address the downtown and see what can be done and go by these guidelines and see what parameters we have and how we can, as I say, make it more inviting, where people want to stop and park and walk through, and then hopefully more business will come in and see what can be done. I think one thing was the Bauer Center, see if they would engage with us about storefront signage of some kind inside
So
the
that was
buildings.
adding art to the windows in the vacant storefronts. So they were actually present at your meetings in September, and they're definitely on board with that. I believe their board has discussed that
Yes.
as for implementation, how we can best move forward with that. So of course, there's going to be some cost to that. Art is not free. So we need to continue with those conversations, but they were definitely wanting to engage further in how they can do that, which means we need to find property owners that are willing to be the hosts of the art or whatever displays we may want to put in there, the windows.
Yep.
There's simple ways to do that.
So, can I ask a question?
Oh, please do.
Yeah. So everything on here with the $1 sign, Mary, is that stuff that the staff can work on, or is that stuff that we need, or the majority of it? I wouldn't say all of it.
So some of it, you can look at what those particular
Yeah.
items are, so that it depends. So
Okay.
the first one is we'll look at the first one with the $1 sign as a pilot. Downtown merchants should coordinate with Bauer Center's Mistletoe Maker Market to host a Christmas open
Yeah,
house.
you can't do, yeah.
Yeah.
But the one,
maintenance standards for properties for interior and exterior conditions. That's something, there are a lot of ways to do it, but this is talking about standardizing something that businesses could use to help with their upkeep of the building. Next was to install custom streetlight banners throughout the downtown district. So I believe some of that may actually be underway.
Yep.
Yeah, so these are things that we're able to
You
get
can build
going.
into
yeah.
where we can, so with marketing budget that we have, or if it's sponsored by a business or someone else who wants to do that, there are opportunities for that. Next is the Google Business Profile Guide. That's already ready to go. That's something actually we've had training on the past before, where it just actually helps businesses to take ownership of their profile out on the web. Simple things for just business strategies. And
Yeah, because because those are really helpful, because when somebody travels, they get asked if they're on Google, they get asked to rate the business, even if they just walk in and out.
That's
If they're
right. So
not
that actually
noticeable.
doesn't require any money. That's was
Yeah.
already done, and that was something the staff already advised. When someone comes to talk about starting a business, I've always advised them to do that, if nothing else.
What other question?
You know, I think the first place that I heard this phrase was from you, Mary, and it was talking about the downtown area, and the phrase was something to the effect of to enhance the downtown downtown experience. And I thought that was a great phrase. I've been telling just about everybody I could think of, throw that in there somewhere, because that's exactly what needs to happen. From my perspective, I see that happening from three different fronts, and it needs to happen from three different fronts. Two fronts can't handle it. The town certainly has their perspective and their responsibilities on doing this. The business professionals, whether they are tenants or whether they're building owners, they also have a significant dog in the hunt on this. And then once we get all that together, we're going to need the community to come to these places and shop here. Amazon's easy, but it's not going to help us. We can throw all the money that we can muster into doing it, but if we don't have people shopping there, it's not going to be a lasting fix. So, I think as a community, we need to have, we need to have a certain mindset about, how we look at things. I mean, if we can come together with as much intensity as we did about a name change, we ought to be able to do this about shopping habits.
So, you're suggesting something?
It's time for everybody to, you voice your concerns and now put some action behind that. So, I think what's been done so far is amazing, and there's a lot of promise to it. But if we can't string lights from one side of the street to the other without getting, some pushback, we need to find that ground where we can work on and move forward. To do that, enhance the downtown experience. Yes. And I think that's the mindset we need to start from, and then we'll work on how we're going to do that, from that point forward.
I totally agree. What else?
Have we published this on the website or anything for folks? So
It is out, bedfordva.gov under the planning section. There's a sidebar that says downtown strategy. I believe it is also, maybe getting confused, on the betteranbedford.com, which is the Economic Development Authority website. I believe it's out there as well, too. They also have a Winona study out there, but this is out there for the public to join in.
And I know in our strategic plan, one of the things that we were had talked about doing is formally adopting the downtown action plan, and we've not really done that.
I would like to do that tonight.
Oh, okay. Well,
This downtown strategy, yes. Yes. After talking to Bart earlier yesterday, I would like for us, if we can agree, to adopt this, and we can move forward with it. Is that
Sounds wonderful. That's the most direct way to do it. The other way we were talking about doing was adopting it by reference as part of your comprehensive plan when that is adopted as well too. So as long as there is, I think, some public action by council to take towards this so that everyone's aware of what the plan is going
Yes.
forward. So that would be, I think, helpful.
Yeah.
We could adopt it tonight and then reemphasize it when we do the,
Yes. No problem.
just so that we keep bringing that back
Right.
up before us and everybody.
And Mary knows how passionate I am about this, but you're spot on in that we need to keep bringing this up and emphasizing it because this has potential to do some really good things downtown. But as I was talking to Bill earlier, everyone has to buy into it. And no, there may be things you don't totally agree with, but you've got to support this thing that can make good things happen downtown. One other thing that we discussed is the apartments upstairs living. People are living downtown, have apartments there, and once we can get more of that in line, then that will pull businesses in, and hopefully the businesses will stay open later. So it's a lot of things that can, what I call, have the domino effect here, once this gets up and going. But first thing we have to do is support it and take a vote and move forward. Give Mary and all others involved say that we are 100% behind it. Any further discussion?
I have one question.
Oh, go on. What do you say?
So, we go ahead to the 1 and 3 year, it says, incentives, awareness, available programs, simplify the application, property owners. So, I mean, would that kind of play into the beginning of this whole equation, or would that play later on into the equation?
What number are you for the identifier?
1.3.
The implemented comprehensive
Yeah.
incentive communication strategy that transforms awareness of available programs and simplifies the application process for property owners and business entrepreneurs. Yep, we can be doing that right now. It's already out there for under betterandbedford.com, but we can be more intentional about getting the word out. It's been a couple of years since I've sent out a letter to the downtown property owners for that, and I believe we have the assistance of Woody Watts that can also help us with that in the messaging of, again, a lot of this comes down to communication, so absolutely. So that was, 1 to 3, just kind of fell within the others that are similar to that in price. So that's, and once I think you can help staff as well as further guide us with what your priorities are, so that you can tell us of those that are years 1 to 3, that the town can do, what's your number 1? What's your number 2?
I just want to get that, make sure that citizens and the business owners get that information and know they have availability of facade grants and stuff like that. Make sure that they know that, because I have heard a couple of people said they didn't know that stuff was available. So that's why I want to make sure that gets out there. So.
Absolutely.
Of course, I like to tell Mary, some of these 1 to 3 could be 6 to 12 months.
Yes, sir, the timeline is yours.
Yeah. Any further questions, comments? Is everyone in support of this?
I was going to say, do you need a motion?
Yes, yes.
Well, I'd make a motion that we adopt the downtown action strategy.
All right.
Second.
Second. Councilman Evans made the second. Any further discussion? All right, Shauna?
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Ippolito?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mr. Evans?
Aye.
Mr. Foreman?
Aye.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mayor Stanley?
Aye.
Motion carries with all members voting aye.
Thank you, Mary. We
Thank you,
appreciate
Mr.
it.
Mayor.
Okay, moving on. Freedom of information and training. Mr. Lockerbie, I think that's you. Oops.
Sorry, what?
Do I have I probably do. I do have my laptop, I could shoot it up.
Take a hot minute break. Live.
Mike, you should know if Mary's here, she's got your back. That's right.
You got the team right there, Mary Ann Woody. You got the team there, Mary Ann Woody.
Yeah. Oh, look. Hey, Woody. Hey, Woody.
Woody.
Mary, y'all got the 18 here.
He's concentrating, Mary.
I see that. I better be quiet. Yeah. We're going to take a 5-minute recess if y'all need a break. I hate to say that because.
All right, come on, let's go.
No.
We did this
I like
last
chocolate
year.
peanut butter.
I think we did it last year.
I'll try cotton candy.
So they're good until you bite into them, then they're good.
Oh. That's why I wanted to get the person that up, to get from 1 to 3. Actually,
What's your email?
yeah. Yeah, I was just looking for the one hiring the position. Yeah, 1-2 is the one that says 1 to 5 years. I think it's a 6-month position. We do that in the budget, I think. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can. You said there was 5 minutes break.
Hey, Mary.
I'll come over. Just watch the window. I'll come over to the window.
All right, I'll text you.
You got your phone?
I don't have any.
What's Tommy's number? All right, I'll text you when we start.
It's gonna take a minute.
Yeah, Ralph and I have worked together for a long time. Oh, and that's the same, what, same person? Yeah. That guy was, I knew him too.
Are you good?
But I really, I would never.
Did you restart so that it picks up the? You got it? Do you need to snitch that thing back?
Still letting this go.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's okay. Okay, yeah. Yeah, whenever you get a chance, you just gotta get on with it. Or you can, if you just, I'll tell Will, you can put him on front. You know where he lives, don't you?
Next day.
He lives in the two doors down, he lives in the brick duplex right there. He lives in the first, he lives in, with 620. Yeah, he lives the one closest to your house.
Wouldn't do anything.
If you just sat on his fruit front step on
Just
the,
watch.
yeah, I mean, it might be easier for you if you do that, yeah. You don't wanna sit through the freedom of information training? All right, I don't blame you. Yeah, I know.
Okay, everybody's cleared out, including the mayor.
I'll text Jay and tell him to come back here. I'll wait till Stacy gets back. And then Dwight will be gone.
Get the mayor about and lose two councilmen.
We'll be here eventually.
We need to fill up some drink before this.
I will get in touch with you.
Yeah, you better get his drink filled there, Daryl.
It's just nervous, gets so nervous when he's, yeah, and that's why I drink it fast, to keep from getting nervous.
Yeah, we're sitting up here.
Let's go.
Lloyd was gonna sit down there.
Sit down now.
You're gonna look at the back of Mr. Lockerbie?
Come on.
You gotta wait for the other two to get back.
Yeah, that, 5-minute break was a bad idea.
We'll charge about a minute, Stacy.
That was,
We had
Daryl's idea.
before they left. I wanted to make sure that.
Well, with the trash, I didn't realize that both days is here too. But it's on the
Well, what I told Leslie, this is not this, it's either residential trash or it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, we lost them again.
Because we were mixing the commercial.
And that was the big,
And so if it's not residential, then it's categorized as something else. So that's how they used to do it.
I know what people do, what you ought to do, you say, okay, guys, charge about a minute. Well, I can all run back in there.
You gonna go get Jay?
Yeah.
He's outside. I texted him. If I've got the right number, I texted him.
Well, it's this, it's not this.
you keep those.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, you go. There's Jay, 'cause I haven't seen him yet.
All right.
He is. I just texted Tommy, but I haven't heard back from him yet.
All right, no more recesses.
I'm gonna listen to you on the recording.
But see,
We've got an attorney up here, time and money.
it's gonna work in
Now the white left. Where did the white go? He went to the bathroom. You should have done that instead of talking all the time.
All right, we got
Wait.
everybody in the room.
Yeah.
I know this is the part of the night that everybody's been waiting for with bated breath. Going to talk about the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and a couple of related issues. You guys know that you are legally required to have this training every other year. We typically do it every year because it's never a bad thing to be reminded, and that way, if it has happened, such as when Mr. Carson was appointed mid-year to the council, that somebody hadn't caught it in the 2 years before, so we catch them up in January. So here we are. Freedom of Information Act, it's the basic primary Virginia statute on open records and open meetings. The basic purpose was to promote openness, and I hope you'll humor me if I tell a couple of stories. I remember, must be about 15 years ago now, I was walking into a Board of Supervisors meeting. This was during my first year as a county attorney for the first time. And we had an old supervisor who had served for many years, and he came into the meeting, or he called us before the meeting, called the county administrator, and he said, "So what time's the meeting?" The county administrator said, "Well, 7 o'clock. And he says, no, when's the meeting before the meeting where you decide what you're going to do at the meeting?" And yeah, we had to have the conversation that now there's a thing called FOIA, and that's not, you can't do it that way anymore. Wanted to put a stop to that, and also to provide that basically the citizens have a right to look at public records unless there's a good reason why not. They're the citizens' records, and sometimes the General Assembly and we get to make determinations that it's better off that the public not have access to things like, say, an appraisal of a piece of property we're thinking of buying or selling. Probably that would be something that would be exempt from FOIA. But generally speaking, things are subject to FOIA. As I was just mentioning, there is a presumption that unless you've got a good reason why something shouldn't be public, and those reasons that are considered good are laid out in exhaustive detail, it is to be assumed that it is public. That's always the presumption under FOIA, unless you can put your finger on a specific exemption in the statute or in another statute. There are some cases where, for instance, health records, it's not part of FOIA that those are confidential, but you can have a closed session to keep those records confidential. In general, if it ain't FOIA, if it isn't an exemption that's in FOIA, it's a public record. Anybody who wants a copy can get a copy. So that, of course, raises the question, which is a little bit prior to that, what is a public record? Public record is anything written or recorded in any way that relates to the transaction of public business. Does it have to be written or recorded in any particular way? No. It can be recorded on paper, it could be a saved voicemail, it can be an email, it can be a text message. Drafts are public records. I know sometimes people will, it used to be, and I think people have now gotten the message across to everybody else because it's written into FOIA now. But years ago, it used to be that there was a question as to whether draft minutes were subject to FOIA before they were approved. And now FOIA says specifically that they are. But it was really clarifying that even drafts of documents are public records. Now note that with respect to public records, meetings is slightly different. With respect to public records, transaction of public business is a common sense standard. If Mr. Haley sends an email to Mr. Updike about what he thinks about the budget for fiscal year 27, definitely transactional public business. That's definitely a record in the transactional public business. If Mr. Haley sends an email to Mr. Updike about that wonderful sermon that Pastor Adams gave last Sunday, that's not transactional public business. Even if they're sent from the very same email addresses, one is a public record and the other is not. However, I highly recommend to you that you have a work email address, you have a personal email address, and there the twain shall meet. You guys all have bedfordva.gov addresses, right?
Correct.
That's wonderful because it makes it much, much easier if we get a FOIA request. That way, in a lot of ways, y'all don't even have to interact with it. You just say to the town's IT department, everything I've got that's emails about this is in my bedfordva.gov email account. Just do a search and pull them down. Note that it does include your personal records. So if your personal notes, the notes that you take up there on the dais, those are public records. So I know that this is a bit funny that maybe that's the case, but I like to say that it pays well in local government to have a good memory, because sometimes there are things that you don't want to write down but that you need to know.
So anything that we write down or scribble down could be considered in a FOIA request.
It could be. And usually you aren't required to keep scribbled down notes longer. I think the phrase is longer than that they can be destroyed as soon as no longer administratively useful.
Yes.
Which means probably you could throw them in the trash when you walk out the door,
I
and
thought-
then the record no longer exists.
Usually when I get home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I did want to note that, to exactly that point that I was just raising, there is a statute related to FOIA called the Virginia Public Records Act. The Public Records Act deals with how long you need to keep public records. And the Public Records Act authorizes the Library of Virginia to develop regulations that tells you how long you need to keep absolutely everything. And so, by the way, I believe that that business correspondence of the mayor needs to be kept permanently. But you guys, council members, I think it's 3 years your official correspondence needs to be kept. So there are standards for this, and what's more, once the time is up, it tells you whether you have to shred it or whether you can just throw it in the trash. It's a pretty prescriptive thing. If you have questions about it, we can look it up. It's better to destroy records after they're no longer useful, and follow the Library of Virginia regulations. They're so long that none of you is ever going to know all of them. I don't know all of them. I look them up. Deborah, you know all of them, right? Yep. You can ask her anytime you want.
Yeah.
See, you don't send me any emails.
I rarely do. Because I know where they can go.
Forever.
So, gotten the basic idea of what a document is, what a public record is, what a public record isn't, when you got to keep it, when you can destroy it, or at least a concept that there are rules about that. The next thing to recognize is when you've got a FOIA request. What is a FOIA request? FOIA request is any time that somebody asks you for a public record. And it doesn't matter if they don't need to say the words FOIA, they don't need to put it in any particular format, they don't need to fill out a form on the website. Anytime somebody asks you for a public record, that is a FOIA request. Even if you don't have the public record, and we're going to get to that in a second. Now, a couple of caveats to that. You can always require the person to give their name and contact information, including their home address. The reason for that is twofold. One's the practical reason of how you're going to get somebody the documents they've requested if they don't give you the address. The second is a reason that FOIA is a limited right. It is a right of citizens of Virginia and media outlets with substantial circulation or broadcast coverage in Virginia. So we have the ability to ask people, where are you from? Oh, you're not from Virginia, you're from a media outlet? You're from Maryland, but you say you're from the Washington Post? Okay, well, you have substantial circulation in Virginia, we'll answer yours. Oh, you're from the Portland, Oregon News? Yeah, maybe not. We do try to be a little bit judicious about this, though. For instance, Mary gets due diligence requests from people who are trying to figure out the background on a piece of property as they're trying to decide whether to acquire it or sell it. And they often come from engineers. So let's say she gets a request from the Timmons Group, gets a request from their office in Greensboro. She could tell them to go fly a kite. Of course, 10 minutes later, she's going to get a call from the Timmons office in Richmond, and they will not only will you have to give it to them, they'll be ticked off at you. So you might as well just think about that and kind of get ahead of it a little bit. But if you're getting a request from a data miner in Sacramento, you might just tell them thanks, but no thanks. So, you've gotten a FOIA request. You as counselors, as mayor, what you need to do when you get a FOIA request is to get it off of your desk, okay? Practical approach to this, as soon as you get it off your desk. Hit forward with extreme prejudice, send it to Deborah, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm calling Deborah.
That's right. And I'll explain to you what her role in the entire process, because she's very central to the whole process, is. But I do want you to understand also what she's going to, what the theory is behind what she's going to do. We always have to respond to a FOIA request. Even if you don't have anything, or if everything that you have is exempt from disclosure, you have to give some response within 5 business days. And you have basically 5 responses. First is, here are the records. Second is, all of the records are exempt, and here are the exemptions that apply to those records. The second is, some of the records are exempt, and here are the exemptions that apply to those, and here are the ones that we're going to give you. The third is, no records exist. And if no records exist, then we do need to say if we know somebody who does. So for instance, the town could get a request for, say, for how the water, for how much water, how much was billed for water to customers within the town of Bedford last year. We don't have that information. I bet you Burwa does. So we would say, we don't have that information, however, the Bedford Regional Water Authority may, and here's their contact information. Your final potential response is to send a 7-day letter, which is, this is big, this is difficult to find, maybe the person who knows where to find it is on vacation this week, so it's going to take 7 more business days for us to, 7 more working days for us to respond to that. It is important to recall that it's 7 working days. So if for whatever reason the town is closed, let's say due to an area power outage, let's say it's due to a snowstorm, those days are not considered to be against that 5-day plus 7-day time period because they're not working days, even though they might be technically business days. The town of Cortland, I believe it was, it's a town down, a little tiny town down in south side Virginia. Their town office is only open Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So they always say that, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday. So it takes 5 working days winds up being pretty long for Cortland. And a court has said that that's appropriate and correct. Incidentally, if it still winds up being something that you can't fulfill, then we can actually go to court. We try to agree with the person for further extensions, but ultimately you can go to court. The court will typically give you a reasonable extension of time. The next question. I know that town council, I know that there must be citizens out there who believe the town council is wasting money on somebody to just sit around and answer FOIA requests. You all know that that's not true. The town staff, just barely has enough warm bodies to do the jobs that we have to do, never mind respond to FOIA requests. Yes. As a result, the town can charge the actual cost of fulfilling the request. So honestly, the very first thing that we're going to do, if there is going, and it's partly required by law and partly just a common sense thing, the very first thing that we're going to do, unless a request is something like, can you send me a copy of the agenda for the next meeting, in which case Deborah's just going to email you a link to the agenda. It's going to take her longer time to ask you for money than it is to just hit send. But if somebody asks her for documents that are going to take her some time to find, then she will email them and say, there's a good chance there's going to be a cost associated with this. Do you want me to proceed? You proceed. If they want an estimate, you give them an estimate. If just based upon looking at the size of the request, it's going to be in excess of $200, we actually get a deposit up front. We charge for the time spent searching and copying. It includes the cost of materials and the cost of the salaries of the people who did the work. You can't charge the overhead and benefits, and you have to charge for the lowest level person who could do the work. If this is just making photocopies, we can't have Bart go make all the photocopies and then charge them Bart's hourly wage to do that. You need to find somebody lower down on the totem pole to charge for that. But that's how. I think Bart would say he's at the bottom, but anyhow.
No, that would be us.
That'd be the vice mayor.
Yeah, that's right.
And if somebody hasn't paid for FOIA within the last 30 days, you can refuse future FOIA requests from them. And people who have refused to pay old FOIA requests, we routinely do say, when you've paid for your old FOIA requests, we will fulfill another one. Until then, we appreciate your interest in the town. So that brings us to what Deborah's really doing. So citizen asks for a document, you guys have gotten it off your desk with extreme prejudice, it's on Deborah's desk, what's she gonna do? So, she makes sure she understands the request. FOIA requests are oftentimes garbled. One of the more, I remember, again, early in my career, the executive assistant to the county administrator took down a telephone request for FOIAs. This was back when we used to get telephone requests. Everything's by email now, but this was back when we got telephone requests, so we got one. And she didn't understand it fully. So we went and pulled 200 pages and gave somebody a $35 bill. And they only wanted 20 pages, and it should have been more like a $2 bill. Because there was a misunderstanding. It's up to the FOIA officer to try to head off those misunderstandings early, because that person who got charged $35 came to the public comment period at the next board of supervisors meeting and chewed out the chair. It just wasn't good for anybody. Then the FOIA officer is going to calendar the 5-day period. They're going to contact the relevant town staff to make sure that you have gotten your arms around the universe of documents that could potentially be responsive. Might send a 7-day letter, might get a deposit, whatever it is that's appropriate. There will oftentimes, particularly with large or difficult FOIA requests on sensitive issues, there may be important issues of legal interpretation. The fact of the matter is that if somebody asks for 100 emails, 90 to 95 of those emails are going to be completely either obviously subject to FOIA or obviously exempt. Okay, they're all going to be, CG to Dave, meet me at 5 o'clock, and let's have a beer, and we'll talk about the tax rate. Okay, that's an email about public business, and it's probably, if somebody wanted it, they could get it. Sometimes it will say, email, Bart to Mike. Can you please give me legal advice about X, Y, and Z? Email response, Mike to Bart. My legal advice is, Deborah doesn't need to ask me whether that's subject to FOIA or not. She knows, that's obvious, it's legal advice, it's not. So a lot of them are obvious, but there are always judgment calls. And sometimes she and I will want to have a conversation about those judgment calls. She determines if any exclusions are applicable. She does the redactions. I might help her with those redactions depending on the scenario, and then gives the response to the requester. And of course, is kind and positive to our citizens even when the answer is going to be no. Common issues that pop up. FOIA, as we already mentioned, always going to be liberally construed in favor of disclosure. If it's a maybe, maybe not, probably going to move toward disclosure. You never have to create new records that don't exist. There are times when the police department does, but that's a very exceptional situation. But if you have to pull records from a database using a standard report or an Excel spreadsheet, then you do have to produce those records. If it's a standard report, you don't have to create records using something that you don't do normally. But one of the things that people can ask for, they can ask for the name, position, salary, and reimbursements for all employees of the town. And that's not a document that we actually have a copy of. However, we do have a personnel payroll database that we can run that out of as a standard report. So that's what you gotta do. It's also important to note that to distinguish between a record and information, and this is becoming a more and more important distinction in some recent cases with the Supreme Court of Virginia. Sometimes FOIA makes a record exempt. Sometimes FOIA makes information exempt. So if it's a record, then you might be able to withhold the entire record. But if it's information, you might have to go through each and every line in order to just take out the little tiny bit. There is always a duty to redact, or there's always a duty to redact if a record is partially subject to FOIA and partially not. But you have greater leeway to withhold the record if the statute says records containing blue are exempt. You have greater leeway to withhold the entire record, as opposed to if it just says, and a recent example in this came up in a case was personnel information. It means that you don't get to withhold their personnel records. It just means that you get to X out everything and then hand the person the pages with almost everything X'd out of it. Which oftentimes Deborah will have the conversation with somebody, look, I'm not going to give you anything useful because you've asked for a whole bunch of exempt emails, or a whole bunch of emails that contain exempt information. It's going to say to, from, subject, date. CG, great to see you this weekend. Big block of black. Thanks so much. See you next council meeting, Dave. Are you sure you want us to go through the effort to give you that? Are you sure you don't want to just withdraw that request? But that's one of the conversations that you have with people. But the law says what it says.
Yes.
The most common exclusions to keep in mind: personnel information, work product or memoranda of legal counsel, proprietary information or trade secrets of an economic development prospect under an NDA, confidential information related to negotiation of a public contract, or purchase or sale of land, at least in some, for the most part, that's the case. Relating to a franchise, all of these things can be held confidential. Executive working papers and correspondence, all those little scribbles that Bart keeps in his little notebook, and all the little funny pictures he draws of me.
He
I'm
doesn't put your
probably
name on.
overstating my importance. I don't think he bothers, but all the funny little pictures he draws, those are considered to be executive working papers, and correspondence that may be exempt from FOIA, and memoranda prepared for use only in closed session. And I know we've on occasion talked about real estate matters or economic development matters where we've said, here's a term sheet, here's an outline of what we want to talk about. And then at the end of the closed session, we collect them up and we go shred them. But those documents are exempt. Flipping over to public meetings. Anytime 3 or more members of a public body or a quorum, if less, discuss public business simultaneously, that's a meeting. All committees that are formally designated by the council count. It does not, however, include gatherings where there's no discussion of public business, party meetings, or candidate forums. And this has really been clarified recently in response to a case called Gloss v. Wheeler. Do note that committees count if they are formally designated. So an example is if a city council designates a committee of the mayor and vice mayor to meet with the chair and vice chair of the school board to talk about common issues and designates them to meet once a month, they've created a committee. And that committee is subject to the open meeting rules. What's interesting is that if they just happen to run into each other at the neighborhood restaurant and talk turkey, it's only 2 and 2, and so it's not a meeting. It's the formal designation as a committee to carry out a public function that makes the difference. Anytime that you have a public meeting, you have to provide notice, you have to take minutes, generally speaking, and have the meeting open to the public. We do have to publish the agendas and the agenda packages, and it has to be in an ADA accessible space. You all will recall when the elevator went out, we had to hold our meetings across the street at the county administration building because without an elevator, this room is not ADA accessible. I do want you to be somewhat mindful about one thing, and I have seen this pop up in another town where we had to have a conversation about this. Let's say that Mr. Haley, Mr. Foreman, Mr. Ippolito, you guys are just hanging out at you're hanging out at the Italian restaurant across the parking lot. You're just hanging out, having a calzone, and you're not talking about anything having to do with the town. You're talking about whether Liberty High School is going to do well in football this year. So, no big deal. It's not a public meeting. But somebody comes up to you and says, "Oh, you guys are all on council. I really want to talk to you about this rezoning that's coming up." One of you better go take a walk around the block.
Yeah.
And you will have, you might have to do that. You might have to say to the person, "Look, we 3 can't talk to you at the same time about this. Do you want to, we can either not have this conversation or one of us can go take a walk. What do you want to do here?" Hopefully citizens are cool enough to understand that. I don't know that they always are, but you can blame me. I'm good for that. I hope you enjoy Martin Luther here giving public notice. Your notices for every meeting, it has to contain the date, time, and location of the meeting. You have to post it at least 3 business days in advance on the website in another prominent location and at the Secretary's or Chief Administrator's office. Where do you post?
Where for me?
Yeah.
Who does it?
Oh. You put one out on your door in your office, right? And then one's on the website, and where's the other one?
Are you talking about ordinances we do for, not necessarily?
Every meeting is supposed to be free.
Isn't there one on the bulletin board as you come in there?
Yeah, it should be one on the
Yeah.
bulletin board, and then one on another bulletin.
Yeah, I think I've seen one on that bulletin board before, as you come in. Yeah,
That's for meetings, yes.
yeah,
Yeah, for meetings.
yeah, that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
You also have to provide notice to anybody who's requested it, so that's why she sends an email to Justin Faulkner and to John Barnhart. Note for special, emergency, and continued meetings, sometimes those are exigent. You gotta do it right now. Well, continued meeting, if I talk forever and you tell me that we need to come back tomorrow night to finish up the meeting, continued meeting, obviously you can't give 3 business days notice to come back tomorrow night. However, there are oftentimes things where you have special meetings or emergency meetings with, we gotta meet tomorrow, we gotta meet in 2 days, we can't give the 3 business days notice. You give the best notice that you can. Now, I want y'all to be aware that there are special procedures. To sell real estate, you gotta advertise for 1 week and have a public hearing. To adopt, repeal, or amend an ordinance, we have some very odd charter procedures which make us post ordinances that have penalties attached to them before they can go into effect. Also, we normally have to give them 2 readings unless we decide that, unless everyone waives the second reading. Under our charter, it's actually, we can do it on first reading unless somebody objects, and then you need to carry it over to second reading. But anyway, everybody's got their own special stuff. For the county, they need to advertise an ordinance for 2 weeks and then hold a public hearing before they adopt it. Rezonings, comp plan amendments, CUPs, 2 weeks notice, public hearing, got to be a public hearing before the planning commission and you. Tax rate and budget, all that counts. And any time that you make a decision without giving appropriate public notice, that decision may be held by a court to be invalid, which means you go back to square one. Now, historically, one of the easiest ways for somebody to invalidate a rezoning is by attacking the notice requirement. It's harder to do that now than it was 5 or 10 years ago because some things have been tightened up. But that used to be the easiest way to do it. But somebody would make this procedural challenge, get an ordinance overturned, and then the council would come back and, all right, advertise it again. Okay, we re-adopt it. It's like, well, why did we spend all that time litigating? But anyway. Anytime that you're in a public meeting, there may be opportunities for people to speak. When you have appearances before council or when you have a public hearing, people get to speak, but only at designated times and places and under rules that you all get to adopt. Basically, very simple stuff. You have rules and you can force people to adhere to them within reason. Question always comes up, what about abusive speakers? First response I have is, when in doubt, let them talk. It's always easier to listen to a fool talk for 3 minutes than it is for you to sit for 3 hours in a deposition with a hostile lawyer asking you why you did it. If somebody is getting bona fide out of hand, you give them 3 warnings. You need to stop and sit down. You need to stop and sit down. You need to stop and sit down. You give them 3 demands to leave. You need to leave now. You need to leave now. You need to leave now. If the person doesn't do that, then that gives the chief the background for him to be able to come up to that person and help them find another place to be. And if they come back, they have been given warning and they are then trespassers. So then they can be arrested for coming back into the meeting. So, but you don't want to do that unless somebody is completely out of hand. Now, if somebody is really, really out of hand and starts being threatening, then the chief's just going to do that. But generally speaking, in that gray area where a person could either go out of control or get themselves under control, you give them 3 warnings, 3 demands to leave, and then you get rid of them. I thought you'd appreciate this. This is the county attorney in Gloucester County.
Oh, gosh.
They were having a public hearing and a guy tried to strangle him.
Wow.
So I'm good to blame if you don't want to. I'm good to blame if a rule is inconvenient. I can take a hit.
Which was the attorney?
What's that?
Which one was the attorney?
The one who was getting strangled.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his name's Ted Wilmot. Funny guy. All right, closed meetings. Closed meetings should be the exception, not the rule, and you always have to identify specifically what you're doing it for. And of course, it varies greatly, okay? Your DSS board, they're gonna have closed sessions every single meeting. For somebody like the Roanoke City Council, they have anywhere from 2 to 5 closed sessions every meeting just because there's so much stuff going on. Right? Oh, we're buying land here, we're selling land here, oh, somebody's gonna expand their facility here and wants an incentive. There's so much going on. For the CVPDC, I bet you they don't have many closed sessions at all other than the annual evaluation of the executive director. Just the nature of the work that they do and the amount of work that they do doesn't justify it. So it varies a little bit. Anytime that you have a motion for a closed session, you need to state the subject matter, the purpose, and the statutory exemption. So, for instance, the description that you see in your agenda tonight is well drafted. It says the subject matter, which is about real property, or is it about real property? Yeah. Real property. It has a statutory exemption, and it gives some general statement about where that property is. Note that during the closed session, you can only talk about matters that were identified in the motion. It's usually the job of the attorney or the town manager or chief administrator to provide that FOIA hygiene to tell you when you're getting across that line, and maybe you need to get back toward what you were there to talk about. But please police yourselves. And you may invite non-members of the body to participate if you so desire. For what it's worth, in the eastern part of the state, it's customary to read off who you want to participate as part of the motion to enter the closed session. Out here in the west, it's typically done at the discretion of the mayor or the chair. They just sort of say, hey, you're needed, come on in. Which way is better? I don't know. But those are the two different ways to do it, and I'm not going to tell anybody they're wrong. I just wanted you to be aware. Most common reasons, personnel. And that's when you're going to name names and you're going to talk about particular people's performance, behavior, or salary. It's not, I want to talk about the pay bands. No, that's an open session discussion. I want to talk about the town manager's salary for next year. That's appropriate because you're evaluating his performance, you're in the process of determining what his salary is going to be for next year. Names will be named, you're talking about a particular person. But you're talking about pay bands for the police department? No, that's open session. Legal counsel, it has to actually be something that's attorney-client privilege. I'll keep you schooled on that. Economic development, again, Mary keeps us pretty squared away on that. Common thing to talk about is contracts or franchises. You guys are probably all aware, we released an RFI related to the transfer station. Probably once we move toward a franchise for that, if the council decides to move in that direction. There will be some evaluations by council in closed session. It's perfectly appropriate. And acquisition or sale of real estate, and advising the town manager on how best to negotiate the purchase or sale of real estate. Note, no action agreed to in a closed meeting is effective until you vote in open session. Also, again, it pays to have a good memory in local government. There was a case out of Chesapeake recently where a circuit court decided that the notes that a city council member took in closed session were foiable. So, be careful. Every time you have a closed session, you need to certify that. You guys are familiar with that rule. Note that there has been a change to these in the last 5 years. A lot of changes. Generally speaking, you all, as long as there is a quorum of the council assembled in one spot, up to 3 members can call in to a meeting. There are several reasons why they can call in. One is a medical reason for themselves. Second is taking care of a family member who has a medical reason. Third is if the meeting is going to be more than 60 miles from their home. And you might ask yourself, how could that possibly happen? Well, let's say VML is in Virginia Beach. You guys decide you're going to have a meeting at VML, and 5 of you are going to VML. The other 2 live more than 60 miles from Virginia Beach, and those 2 other people could call into that meeting. The last one is you can have up to twice a year or 25% of your meetings a year, whichever is greater. You're allowed to call into just for personal reasons, whatever business or personal reason you have. There's even a further exception. If you are disabled and due to your disability, when I say disabled, I mean ADA type disability that prevents your mobility coming to the meeting, or you are a caretaker for a person who you cannot leave due to their ADA disability, then you will be counted to the quorum even if you're calling in. I know it's an exception to the exception, but you can kind of see how if we had a member of council who was, again, significantly disabled such that they could not even make it to the town council meeting, or they had a disability for 6 months that prevented them, say they had both knees replaced and they couldn't even make it here, they could call in for that 6-month period. Finally, enforcement. Enforcement by a citizen lawsuit. It can be brought in general district or circuit court. Generally speaking, one of 2 things is going to happen. The court's either going to say, you must give them the documents. If you lose, the court's going to say, you must give them the documents that you withheld, you were wrong. Or the court's going to try to come up with some sort of a way of dealing with you for closed session violations. It's very difficult for courts to decide. And I remember down in Pittsylvania County a few years ago, one of the Board of Supervisors committees held an illegal closed session. And what the circuit court told them was that they couldn't hold any closed sessions without their lawyer in presence for the next 6 months. It was just sort of like, you guys need to behave yourself for 6 months and be scolded on the front page of the Danville newspaper. You know, that's basically what it came down to. But there are penalties. If you willfully and knowingly violate FOIA, there are personal civil penalties against you. If you destroy documents to avoid responding to a FOIA, $100 per page or per document if it's an electronic document. And a public body itself, council as a whole, could be fined $1,000 for a closed meeting violation.
There goes our salaries.
There is ongoing training. That's what I'm here for. I can also answer questions. So that is the very quick whirlwind through FOIA. I'm always here to answer questions. Appreciate your giving me half hour.
Don't have any questions? Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. All right. Are we ready to proceed? Yep. Okay, I move that we go into a closed session pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711, A3 and A, for the purpose of discussion or consideration of the acquisition or disposition of land, and for consultation with the town attorney regarding the legal status of such property, where discussion in open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the town, regarding forest property outside of town limits in the Peaks Magisterial District of Bedford County. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Councilman Haley made the motion. Second?
Second.
Councilman Ippolito. And
application resolution applies. And 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the council.
All right, I hear a motion.
Yep.
Councilman Ippolito made the motion.
Second.
Second, Vice Mayor Updike. All right, go ahead, sir.
Mr. Foster?
Aye.
Mr. Haley?
Aye.
Mr. Ippolito?
Aye.
Mr. Updike?
Aye.
Mr. Evans?
Aye.
Mr. Foreman?
Aye.
Mayor Stanley?
Aye.
Motion carries with all members voting aye.
All right, I am going to adjourn this meeting until 6 p.m. on January 20th, 2026, to present and review second quarter financial statements. And we are adjourned.